Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Hey, I'm Jason. He's Jacob. We're back. We're going to talk about free agency. We got some stuff to talk about today, Jacob.
Plenty of stuff. Exciting first day in free agency across the league.
Yeah, it's been a day. I know just Twitter was going crazy. I'm glad the Lions made a move early, kind of calmed some people down, although there's still some people that are losing their mind. But, you know, it's that time of year. So you had a eventful day off, didn't you? It's a crappy day off.
Literally. Yeah, no. Supposed to have some plumbing work done. That fell through. So did some other stuff around the house. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I show up to work and Jacob was not at work. And I texted him and said, hey, what's up with this? And he explained what happened with the day. And let's just say I was glad I was at work and he was at home dealing with what he had to deal with. So the Lions, signed a big player today. They re-signed some of their players. They cut a player, a notable player. There were mega contracts given out in the NFL, mostly yesterday. Some big contracts. Yesterday's were kind of a surprise thing. Today's, there were some big contracts given in. So we're going to get into all of that. But Lions made a huge move today. Jacob, why don't you start off with that?
Yeah, let's start with the attention grabber, the big one, right? So the Lions signed cornerback DJ Reed, previously of the Jets, 3-year contract for $48 million. Really good move by the Lions, but it was kind of spurned on, I guess you would say, by Carlton Davis signing with the New England Patriots. So Carlton Davis left, they had been trying to work out a contract with him. It didn't sound like it was going very well. He posted some things online. It looked like it was kind of leading this way. So Carlton signs with New England, 3 years, $60 million, $34.5 million guaranteed. And as soon as he signed with the Patriots, I don't know how you were feeling, Jason. If you're at work, you probably didn't see all right up front, but right away I'm like, oh man, here we go. That's the first domino to fall. What are we going to do from here? Less than an hour later, it's announced that we got DJ Reed. What are your thoughts? First impression before you looked into all the stuff. What were your first?
So my first impression is sad to see Carlton leave. I liked him.
Yes.
And I needed to get a veteran cornerback on this team, and Carlton would have fit that bill perfectly. However, when the tweet went out an hour later, I don't know whose I saw first. I saw Eric Schlitz first was Lions get their veteran cornerback. And then I think it was someone else posted about DJ Reed, and I was like, that's my backup plan. That's exactly where I'm at. And then the contract details come out, and that's where I think the Lions really won on this.
Right. I mean, basically, you're trying to have continuity on the defense, right? Ideally, we'd have Carlton back, but you want a player similar to Carlton, and we end up getting somebody that's the same age as Carlton Davis. They were from the same draft class. Similar performance-wise. We'll get into the numbers here in a minute, but yeah, we find a perfect replacement for Carlton Davis at a cheaper rate.
Yeah,
that's best case scenario. Which time will tell, who won out, who got the better of this one. But yeah, agreed. I didn't want Carlton to go either, but I also, you can't pay everybody 20 plus million a year. So I think that was the right move. We had to let that go.
Yeah, I agree. It's too bad Carlton had to leave, but when you get DJ Reed, you get a guy that is a physical corner. Lions get ready for some pass interference penalties because he does get flagged quite a bit. But I think that goes with the territory we're playing tight coverage. He is very comparable, on the Jets. He was not the number one corner. Sauce Gardner is the number one corner. And so, people were, they're shying away from Sauce. They're going to DJ Reed, but he definitely held his own in that regard. He did his job, and I'm happy that he's on our team now.
Yes. His play style seems kind of similar to the way Amik plays. So, I mean, that should fit right in with the rest of the cornerback room.
Yeah, I saw some plays where he was busting up screens. just like a meek, getting around, getting physical, getting around the blockers. So we talked about the deal. 3 years, $60 million for Carlton. We got 3 years, $48 million for DJ Reed. That is, $12 million. That's a considerable amount of money. We're not talking like 3 or 4 million. That's $12 million is a lot. They both had the same amount or similar guaranteed money, 34.5 versus 32 for DJ Reed. You mentioned before they're same age. They're both 28 from the same draft. Carlton Davis was drafted in round 2. In that same draft, DJ Reed went in round 5. So DJ Reed is used to as a guy that's used to working hard to get what he needs. He got cut after 2 years. Sounds like from what I read, 49ers, they're the teams that originally drafted him, tried to make him like a corner nickel, and that's just apparently not him. Played really well in Seattle and then signed a 3-year deal with the Jets. And now he's going to, come in and help our defense. Their stats fairly similar between Carlton and DJ Reed. More interceptions for Carlton. But one thing that I do like about DJ Reed, he's very durable. He doesn't miss very many games. He's played over the same period of time. He's played 12 extra games compared to Carlton. So you're going to have him on the field. That's, they always the old adage about the best ability is availability. Well, he's got that.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell, like when you just look at statistics like these against corners, because there's so much more to the cornerback's game than how many interceptions you got or, how many tackles that you made. So, yeah, definitely that was the number one thing that stood out to me, too, is how many more games that he's played in over the same period of time.
Yep. Yeah, DJ Reed has 2 sacks in his name, so maybe blitzing might be part of his game. I'm not sure. Carlton did not have any, but both of them played physical. I think you're going to see similar play styles between the two. Physical, in your face. We'll take the penalty here and there, but I'd rather take that than just having someone run wide open or, just getting burned in a screen game or anything like that. You're going to play physical style defense, and that's what the Lions require from their cornerbacks.
Absolutely.
Yep. So just to round it out, PFF grades were very similar. Carlton had a 74.5. DJ Reed was 70.7. This is going to be really hard during the season because we have DJ Reader and DJ Reed on this team.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, no. But yeah, let's talk about the next signing. This is a re-signing. Derrick Barnes. I was super ecstatic when I saw this deal. How did you feel about it, Jacob?
Definitely. We like Derrick Barnes. We want him to be back on the team. He was part of the rebuild, I guess, the build up, and I think he would have had a really good year last year, if not for the injury. So excited to have him back. The price was right too. 3 years, $25.5 million, $16 million guaranteed. And, he's going to be an effective linebacker for us.
Yeah. He's got kind of a unique position, plays on the ball, off the ball, switches between. He's a 3-down linebacker. We all remember the interception with the Tampa Bay game. And then last year, he was looking really good in those first 3 games before he got injured. I'm excited to have him back. And it's telling, you got Shep. Shep wants him back. So he knows what this guy's potential is. Some people are arguing about the contract terms. Did you have any problems with the 3 years for $25.5 million, Jacob?
I don't understand what the argument would even be for that. I think that that's pretty fair and pretty on par for a linebacker and for what he is to us. I don't know exactly how cheap people, anyone who questioned that when it originally dropped probably is, feeling okay about it already just after this first day of seeing these other contracts, seeing these other mega deals that these players are getting.
Yeah, I think one thing that, as the cap rises and getting to these ridiculous levels, the contracts are going to go with it. So when you look at like Derrick Barnes signing in last year's terms, maybe it's like, oh, this isn't as friendly, but we're playing in a new league year. The cap went up by like a record amount. You expect all those deals to follow suit. I like re-signing our own when you know what you're getting. We know what we're getting with Derrick Barnes. You're going to get a hard worker, a guy that's worked for everything, guy that loves football, guy that can play a position which is, I won't say unique for the Lions, but not every team runs a Sam position the way the Lions do, and we know Derrick Barnes can run it.
And I mean, that was a huge part of like why the defense was, in those big, I don't want to say the defense completely fell apart, but in a lot of those big moments, a lot of it was that we didn't have anybody to slot in that spot. We tried out, how many other people did we have try to play that Sam position? Nobody was able to pick it up as effectively, as Derrick Barnes did. And right now on Spot Track, Derrick Barnes' contract is top 20. He's number 20 right now in terms of the total contract value for a linebacker. He's number 20 for $24 million. Number 1 is Josh Hines-Allen for $141 million. That is a massive difference between number 1 and number 20.
Yep.
And I mean, some of these guys that he's around or behind, Zaire Franklin, Matt Milano, Mike Hoke from Buffalo, which I actually I've never heard of that guy before. But I mean, it's just another one of those things. I'm sure give it a few weeks from now, he's going to drop further down, especially after the season starts. This, that's a good deal.
No, I'm happy with it. And like you said, it's going to just keep looking better. Just like the Panay Sewell from last year is going to look better every year. They're signing him. The cap hit this year for Derrick Barnes is only $3.4 million. Next year it jumps up to $10 million, which frankly I'm okay with, because if he plays a full season, gets all his bonuses and all that, he deserves it, and he's going to provide what we need. His press conference today was great. He wanted to come back to Detroit. He basically is Detroit or nowhere else. But I'm glad Detroit wanted him back, because that solved an issue at the a hole at the linebacker spot, especially his position. So I felt really good yesterday when that was announced that he resigned.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bigger problem than you think, maybe on the surface, if he goes somewhere else. Like I said, just the trouble that we had with that same position last year. I imagine that Shep's going to want to do some similar things. Obviously, he knows what he wants out of the linebacker, so he needs people that know what they're doing out there, and it's just a bad move. If you lose him, then you end up having to overpay somebody else, or you have to get a rookie in there and try to trust them to know what they're doing. It's not easy to do, obviously, because James Houston failed miserably at it last year. And, man, who else? I think Ezekiel Turner, they tried to have him do that too.
Yeah, they had Nowacki out there too. Nowacki did pretty admirable. I mean, he probably did the best out of any of the linebackers that remained, but even them, he was outmatched. The thing that, we keep wanting an edge player, and we'll get to Davenport and Zadarius Smith here in a second. But Barnes does provide a pass rush, and that's something that we missed when he left. He can blitz, and he can just provide additional pressure on the quarterback, which is another reason why I'm glad to have him back.
The versatility of the same position.
Yep. All right. You want to talk about Zadarius Smith, or you want to talk about Marcus Davenport next, Jacob?
I guess they kind of go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll go over the Zadarius numbers real quick, because I think that's more of a that was more of a hot topic, more of a discussion, because people wanted, Zadarius said and did all of the right things when he got here, right? He embraced Detroit, embraced the culture, seemed like a Lion, everything, I want to say pretty much everything that Zadarius did was doing it the right way to appeal to the fan base. Obviously the product on the field maybe wasn't spectacular, but we talked about that right when he got here. They, temper out those expectations right away. Is he going to sign somewhere else? Yes. Is he going to, have a good year? Maybe. The bigger issue is just how much money it was going to cost us next year for the void year. And that was something that you brought up the last time we talked about it, because I said I thought he was going to be on the team. It didn't make sense to get rid of him until you look at the numbers. I mean, cutting him right now, it saves us $5.7 million this year, $5.2 million next year. And, we would have been on the hook for all, essentially you're on the hook for $12 million for him for this 1 year. That's when you have to have that discussion. Is he worth that $12 million? Is his production worth $12 million this year? And if you are paying him, if you're tying up that $12 million, where's that coming out of? Who are we losing out of that? So Brad Holmes makes the decision to cut Zadarius, and then we sign Marcus Davenport to another 1-year deal.
And I don't think like Marcus Davenport's like, hey, we're just going to resign him to replace Zadarius. Marcus Davenport, to me, is just additional depth on this team. The amount of injuries that Marcus Davenport has had over his career, you can't count on him for anything. And the way that, I know the initial numbers came out with up to $4.75 million, and we'll get into that in a second. They're nowhere. If he costs us $4.75 million, we should be ecstatic because that means he played the games. He hit all his escalators on sacks and all that. So we should be ecstatic if he only costs us $4.75 million. Just to nip, what happened was Zadarius. Yeah, we basically cut him for, saved $11 million on the cap. Now the Lions could re-sign him. They had until Friday to decide what they were going to do. They probably had talks. Zadarius probably said, "I'm not restructuring my contract," and so the Lions were forced to cut him. That's how I bet it went. I don't know that. I don't have any information, so I don't know. Zadarius
He was pretty quick about posting on social media like his goodbyes to the city and everything like that, which leads me to believe that they talked about it and he was ready to move on as well. Like the numbers were matching. He wasn't willing to work around it, And I guess if you see, right. Well, I was just going to say, I guess if you're him and you see what's out there and see what other people are offering and they're not offering as much as you want, then maybe you come back to Detroit because of, what you had here last year. I think somebody's going to throw a bag at him and he's going to be willing, highest bidder is where he's going to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who's he left? The Bears? Can he go to the Bears? Because that'd be the last one of the division, right?
And that's funny because that would be a Bears move. That would make sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. Zadarius was in a tough spot last year. I mean, Zadarius is probably not your main edge rusher on a team at this point in his career, but can he play opposite of someone, that someone else, like an Aiden Hutchinson or, whatever, he would have his stats maybe would look a lot better. Last year, they were able to focus on Zadarius because we were so injured up and down the line. So regardless, as all our big free agents or our big extensions last year will start to really hit next year. So that $5.2 million they saved in dead money will make it so maybe we'll be able to sign someone, or we got this Aiden Hutchinson deal that's going to come up, hopefully this offseason. It just had to happen with Zadarius. Unfortunate. Like you said, he endeared us to the city. Seemed like a good fit as far as like attitude and all that stuff. It just didn't work out. Get back to Marcus Davenport. It was first announced 1 year up to $4.75 million. Well, then the contract details came out late last night. He has $1.35 million guaranteed salary. He can get up to $50,000 per if he's active on game day. He can get that bonus, and then there's bonuses for sacks too. I think up to $2 million. So I don't think they released, or at least I couldn't find what they released, what those numbers would be. But that's what that's what it's going on. However, that $1.75 million cap hit for edge rushers, it's out of the top 75 edge rushers. So anybody that's out there thinking, "Oh, this is who Brad Holmes is identified going to play opposite of Hutch," I don't believe that's the way it is. I just think this is a depth piece. However, I really liked how he looked in the two games that he did play with us. He was able to do what we needed to do: crunch one side and then funnel everything towards Aiden. And that's why Aiden ate lunch, those first few games.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what, when you asked me last time, was like, if he's willing to take a pay cut or have like a reworked contract, I definitely wanted to have Davenport back. I didn't think that he was going to agree to, these kind of terms like that. So, it's awesome. I'm happy about it. It's also, it's not that much money. There's not much guaranteed. Let's see how the preseason goes, because there's a chance he's not even on the team, right? But,
Yeah. And you can cut him with those numbers. I don't, unless he gets injured, I think he'll play well enough to play himself on the roster. But,
right. And I mean, the way the season started last year.
Yeah. It's a long time between now and, week one. So.
I have breaking news. Do you have a breaking news siren that you can go off?
Oh, no. What's up?
The Lions have re-signed offensive tackle Dan Skipper.
Okay. All right. Well, that answers one of my things down and later on of what we're going to do with that tackle
All right,
position.
Skip. I don't see any details or anything. This is literally just came across.
I can't imagine it's for much over the league minimum, but good for Skip.
Right.
Like one of those blue guys you like having around. Yeah. Lions re-signed 3 other players. Anthony Pittman, Ezekiel Turner, and Maurice Norris all coming back. Details of their signing, I didn't really see too much on that, but either they're heavy depth players or special teams players. It'll be interesting what Ezekiel Turner. They brought him back. He had some flashes. It'll be see him another year in the system, full off season, what he can bring to the table.
We'll see.
Yep. All right, and just to kind of wrap up, some people might have some questions about some other depth pieces that we had on the team. The Lions signed these players, and may have been already announced. You might have already heard this, but I don't believe we've talked about it on our podcast yet. But the Lions signed these players to futures deals, which basically gives them, they're going to be on the practice squad, and then they'll get invited to training camp. So, quickly, Jake Fromm, quarterback Jake Fromm, wide receiver Tom Kennedy, wide receiver Ronnie Bell. We signed him from the Pointers. Offensive tackle Jamarco Jones, inside offensive lineman Kingsley Agakwen, Chris Smith, the defensive tackle's back, Isaac Uku, edge, he's back. He had some I'm excited to see his growth in the preseason. That will be because he had some flashes in the preseason, and then I believe he got injured, just like everybody else on the Lions team.
Yeah, it's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just hoping that we see some growth because I really like Tim. Abraham Beauplan, linebacker, Deron Gilbert, linebacker, cornerback Stanley Thomas Oliver, and then a couple safeties, Lauren Strickland and Eric Hallett, all come back on the practice squad. Some of the, Chris Smith we've seen with, the club on game day, Lauren Strickland, Tom Kennedy, obvious. The rest of them are going to be, depth signings. But that's so far, besides what you just mentioned, Dan Skipper come back, that's pretty much been the offseason of who we bring them back. Wednesday is when it'll officially start. Maybe we sign some players between now and then. I'll be glued to Twitter.
Yeah,
I turned into something. I didn't have Twitter this time, free agency. I had to rely on you. It's a good thing I didn't rely on you today because you didn't show up for work, and then I'd have been lost.
Yeah, you have to read all 30, 40 signings after you get off work.
I know. Yeah, I'd have been quickly. The NFL app will give you, they give you them, but they're 30 minutes after everybody else.
Yeah, right. Now you got to get on Twitter and follow Schefter and some of those guys.
Yeah. So there was I texted you about this, the whole DJ Reed thing. Everyone's posted that he signed. Justin Rogers would not commit because the agent hadn't put it out officially yet. I think Rappaport put it out or Schefter, someone put it out, but he couldn't confirm. So he said, I'm going to slow my roll on this. And then I text you about it. And then 15 minutes after I text you, Justin Rogers sent out an article saying it's official. It's happening.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Dave Burkett also had posted that he had called. I don't know if he was on the phone with DJ Reed or it was just weird. I guess he was on the phone. DJ Reed tweeted Detroit and then deleted the tweet. So that's why I think everyone was okay, what's going on here? And then they talked to him and I guess it was well, it's not official yet. And then I was concerned, okay, are these numbers going to change? Did he see these other contracts? Now all of a sudden he wants more money, so we're backing off. But no, it all worked out.
Someone asked that to Justin Rogers, he saw Carlton Davis's contract and now he wants to sign. And Justin Rogers tweeted back, said they have the same agent. So that, that agent knew what the deal was. And I'm sure he relayed that information to DJ Reed just to know, what he's got. It'd be interesting to be in there. Did DJ Reed just say, I want to go to Detroit. That's my team. Did he, and he was just going to sign for anything reasonable or, I maybe inside the den we'll have a little bit more knowledge, but I don't.
Maybe that was that agent. He works out a deal and Carlton gets paid. Then he calls Detroit. It's hey, Carlton left, but I got this other guy. He's willing to come to Detroit.
Yep. It worked out well. DJ Reed's not going to sign with Detroit if Carlton Davis is still in the fold. If we were to bring him back, he's not, not that we could afford.
You wouldn't think so.
Anyways.
Right.
So anything else you want to cover on that front or you want to move on?
No, we can move on.
All right, cool. All right. So my next question is kind of might have already answered this with the DJ Reed, but when we wrote this up, it was before that big signing. who or what would make you happy with the Lions? Like, what position would you be happy with that we need more help at? Or is there a specific player that you think the Lions should be targeting this week?
Based on what I've seen already on day one, there's nobody out there that's like, I want them to go out and get this guy. Maybe Trey Hendrickson if you're exploring trade options, but what I want from the Lions, I would like to re-sign Levi this week as soon as possible. The numbers are already right there. Javon Kinlaw got 3 years, $45 million. That would then become the bar for what you have for Levi. So that's the lowest that you can pay Levi. And then Milton Williams, another defensive tackle, got 4 years, $104 million. So, I mean, that already puts Levi's deal somewhere around like 18 to 20 million on average. For that to be fair, based on how he played and everything. And, obviously he's younger than DJ Reader, and we don't know what the future holds for DJ Reader. I want to lock up Levi, and I would like to do that pretty soon before it gets worse. A couple of these numbers, a couple of these defensive tackles get past Milton Williams, then you're looking at a different bar for right there. And it's hard. I mean, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I saw somewhere that we already are like tied. Before today, we were like tied for the most players making $20 million a year annually. We were like tied for the lead or like, really close to the top. So it's hard to keep paying guys $20 million a year. But if we can get Levi for around 18 to 20 million, that's fair for him right now. That's fair for us right now. Time is of the essence, though, because if we wait too long, especially some of these other teams that maybe are looking for defensive tackle help too, then we can't even afford. Then we're looking at 20 million, and then maybe somebody's willing to pay him 24, 25 million a year, and we can't match that.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. I want Levi back, but I also think that Levi's going to fall. He's been injured most of his career. Last year, ironically, he played most of the year when the rest of the team's injured. He played,
right.
Most of the year, which is ironic, but I just don't know if I sign him for a long-term deal, or if I do, a long-term, I'd say, ideally, I want to sign Levi for 2 years.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
I was thinking 3.
Yeah, well, he's going to want 3, but I'm thinking with his injury risk, I don't know if I want to be tying up too much money and then his back goes out, because he's had a back injury. Defensive tackle with a back injury, dang, that isn't good. So hopefully
that's
he's
also
figured
how
that
you
out.
can leverage that guaranteed money in the different aspects of that as well.
Yes. Yeah, and if they do 3 years, then it's like a roster bonus down the line that, if he's playing well enough, you're happy to pay that, especially as the cap keeps going up. It's going to, I think what you were referring to is the Lions have 4 players, 20 million or over, or was it 4 or 5?
I thought it was like 5 or 6. I would have to look.
Well, I think it's 4 or 5, and then you got Aiden going to sign a deal, which is going to push it up above 20 million. There was, I think, the Bucks, the Eagles, and there's another team in that same area. As the cap keeps going up, more and more teams are going to follow in that, in that realm. Also, a thing that you didn't mention with defensive tackle help, we don't know the health of Aleem McNeil. We don't know when he's going to come back, right? So, say Aleem doesn't come back week 1, he's out till week, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't know. We're going to need someone else next to DJ Reader in there in the line that can either get pressure or stop the run. Like Levi, he plays a little different than Aleem. However, we know what we got with Aleem or Levi. He'd be nice, especially if Aleem comes back and have Levi, DJ Reader, Aleem in a nice rotation. I could deal with that.
You also look at who's out there. How the Carlton Davis and DJ Reed thing went out. It's like, okay, we got somebody pretty close, comparable for a little less money. I don't think that's out there in terms of what defensive tackles are left. So then if Levi goes elsewhere and then we don't have Aleem, we're already probably looking defensive tackle in the draft, right? Pretty early on at some point. But now that also becomes a necessity if we don't get Levi back.
Yeah, and Brad Holmes does not I gotta draft this. He does not like need-based drafting. He won't do need-based drafting. It's, that's just not his game. So I expect a movement along that lines. We're going to figure it out. We're going to be getting Wingo back. It'd be nice to see what growth he makes in year 2. He's kind of undersized, so he's definitely not in that plug the hole. But year two, maybe he grows, maybe, who knows? Maybe he just gets better at his position, more experience will help. But I agree with you. Defensive tackles definitely a need. My number one need was a veteran cornerback, which we hit. That was my number one need before today. When I was writing this up last night, the online, and I was thinking, I didn't have any specific players. I tend to not try to put my eggs in one basket. So because we only had four, before DJ Reed, we only had four defensive backs on the roster. We had Terrion, we had Amik, we had Stanley Thomas Oliver, and Ennis Rakestraw. Those are the four that we have.
Young blood.
Yeah. I love Amik. I love Terrion. But we needed someone else that we could really count on. Cornerback 2, that way we could move Amik back to the nickel if we want. Really happy with your DJ Reed. Now we also obviously need edge help. We've talked about this. Davenport's a piece of the puzzle that we're also going to be in the market for drafting an edge player too. But I don't want to have edge and defensive tackle out there. That's going to be hard to plug two of those players in the draft, especially drafting late as we are in both the first and the second round. The other position that I think the Lions I wouldn't be surprised to see a sign this week is safety. We really need some depth at safety with, after Branch and Kirby. I mean, we don't need to draft a starter in there, but we need some depth.
Is there anybody that you're looking at that are free agents right now that you're considering, or?
No, I just want someone with some veteran experience that if one of those guys goes down, could come in and play. So I don't really have anybody. Is there a safety out? Is there a safety specifically that you look at, or?
Not particularly, especially some of the numbers, obviously the people that are signed right now are people that are signed with the intent on starting or having huge roles. And whoever we sign is probably not going to be guaranteed, much of anything. But the top available players that it looks like right now out of the safeties, Justin Reed, Marcus Epps, Rayshon Jenkins, Xavier Woods, KZ out of Pittsburgh. Nobody that really, I don't see any names that I'm like, okay, that's somebody that I definitely want. And, most of those guys are making at least 5 to 10, average a year.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what to do about the safety there.
I mean, if he doesn't find room this year, I definitely would be interested in bringing him back for sure. Especially if we can get him on same like a Marcus Davenport type deal where you're giving him game bonus checks because you can't really count on if he come back. He's been injured every year, but his upside can be so big with the way you can utilize him.
Right. I mean, that's the easiest answer, right? That's usually, for most of this, the easiest answer is re-sign the guys that we already had. Let's just keep the ball rolling, keep what we have. That's just not always that easy. You look at the guard help. I mean, because we still don't know what's going on if we're going to sign Zeitler or not. There hasn't been too much at play in terms of free agency for the guards. There's been some trades, some moves within our division that we'll talk about a little later. But yeah, how long do you wait before we make a move there?
Yeah, I'm still hoping Zeitler comes back. Just sign him for another 1-year deal, similar to what we signed last year. That's my solution to that problem. Way Mahogany played, we can, if we're not going to sign Zeitler, then we just need a good backup, a top backup, because we could probably pencil in Mahogany. I know a lot of people are not happy about Graham. I think Graham is serviceable, especially in today's NFL where offensive linemen are just tough to find. Whatever issue Graham had last year, I think Graham will fix. So
we hope so. Time is going to tell.
Yes, he was serviceable last year. I think Mahogany's going to be your long-term solution there eventually, probably more at right guard. We just, if we can get Zeitler back, you push him in and then let Mahogany and Graham fight it out in training camp, and the Lions will play the best player.
Yes.
That they just will. That's the name of the game for them.
The other thing, though, just so we can get this out of the way, because first I said I wanted to see Levi's name pop up. I wanted to re-sign him. I also need this Hutch deal to happen as soon as possible, right? Mega contracts being handed to edge defenders, as we knew they would. Max Crosby, 3 years, $106 million, $91 million guaranteed. Myles Garrett, 4 years, $160 million, $2.7 million of that guaranteed. Browns just giving guaranteed money like nobody else. Max's average annual value, 35.5. Myles Garrett is $40 million. That's the numbers that we're looking at right now for Hutch, right? It's probably, I would think, between those two. Maybe is Myles Garrett the bar? I hope not, especially for the guaranteed money. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think the contract for Hutch is going to look similar to the Nick Bosa contract. So Bosa's contract he signed in 2023 was 5 years, $170 million. So that put his average annual value at 34. So right now, I think a good deal right now for Hutch is 5 years, probably hovering around $190 million. And that would put his average annual value at 38. So that would be between Max and Myles. And I think that's a fair number for Hutch. And I think that might be, the hometown discount that people talk about. Because I just, with the year that he was having last year, it's definitely, depending on his agent and everything, I mean, it's not out of the question to say, well, Myles Garrett got this much, and I think, we need to get about that much. But the other reason that time is of the essence is that Micah Parsons is also going to be working on a deal over there in Dallas. And whoever signs first between Aiden and Micah is setting the bar for the other guy.
Yes.
So if Micah does sign his deal first, and Micah's deal is for, let's say, if his average annual value is $42 million a year, then you're looking at, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're flowing. Myles got 40. Micah gets 42. Aiden needs 42.5, 43. We don't want that.
No.
Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson's a great player. We want him here. Absolutely, we need to get this deal done. But that's so much money to lock up into one spot outside of quarterback. And we already have that, Goff's going to get restructured next year. He has to with his cap hit and everything. So, I just need that to happen as soon as possible, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. When Aiden had to been clapping when he saw what Myles got, because he's like, yes, it's insane. These numbers are insane. I mean, it doesn't seem too long ago when we were quarterbacks signing $40 million a year, like top end quarterbacks. And now we're getting non-quarterbacks at $40 million a year. It's an insane amount of money for these guys. But these edge players, Myles Garrett, yeah, does he affect the game? Heck yeah, he affects the game. Affects every quarterback that he's rushing. He's the best player on the field most of the time. So I get why he gets $40 million. Just think it's really funny that Myles Garrett, 2-3 weeks ago, I'm not playing for the Browns ever again. And then, $40 million. Where do I sign? What? How can I sign quick enough? Yeah, let me do this. Just with the way that team, like we discussed in our Myles Garrett pod, how screwed up their cap is and how Deshaun Watson has basically derailed them. I can't believe that Myles Garrett just decided to go back there. And the prospects of that team are not great. They're looking at Kenny Pickett starting for them next year.
Yeah, right. I mean, money talks, I guess, right?
It does.
All that stuff, he was like, I want to go somewhere. I need a chance to win. The time is right now. And then he just, he sold out, right?
Yeah.
Because not only did you just say, well, winning's not as important if I'm getting paid this much, but then by you getting paid this much, that's less than they have. Because there was like another, I don't know if he put the story out. Somebody was like, he wanted to sign now so that they could start building the process. And I don't know who lied to him and told him that they were going to be signing people and that they were going to win now. With what money? And you just threw all that money at him. So now you've got two players that are taking up most of your, I mean, they restructured Deshaun Watson again, but.
Well, I mean, they restructured Deshaun Watson because they had to. They had to get under the cap on Wednesday. And, basically, they've just pushed money further down the line. They're going to be paying for Deshaun Watson for. The one thing they could help the Browns is in a couple of years when the NFL TV deals go out again, and it might be record cap raised that year whenever that TV deal comes in, and that's the only thing that could save them because then they can get out under cap hell. I can't imagine the contracts. I mean, when that deal comes up, I mean, you're going to have quarterbacks we're going to be getting close to $100 million a year player. Closer. It's going to happen. I mean, Josh Allen just signed for $65 million or whatever that average is.
Yeah, right.
It's going to happen. It's insane amount of money, but they're putting their bodies online. The other, the reason why we bring out Max and Miles, obviously in relation to Aiden. The other thing, a big extension that was signed this week that can affect the Lions is the Saquon Barkley deal, right? 2 years, $41.2 million extension, $36 million guarantee. Why does that affect the Lions? Jahmyr Gibbs, right? In a couple of years, he's gonna be up for a contract extension. $20 million a year, another $20 million a year player, right? We could only have so many of those. So I saw those
he's
contracts.
Going to get his, though.
Yeah.
So let's hope Saquon's still the top one by the time that happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, 2 years ago, the NFL teams basically didn't want to pay for running backs. And then as teams change their defense, it's like they're going to go all in against the guard in the pass. And then when you play too deep high safeties, that leaves you can run. And so you get a good running game. NFL's all cyclical. It all happens. They did 2 deep high safeties to stop the deep passing game. Well, that still opens up the middle of the field, and then it also opens up for your run game. And that's why one of the reasons why the Lions were so successful. They're going to give what you can get. And then, teams will draft bigger linebackers. They will play closer to the line, and then it'll be back again to over-the-top passing game. It's all cyclical, but I don't want to lose Jahmyr, but at some point we're going to run out of money. It's going to happen. The cap's real. No matter what you think about it, the cap is real, and you got to play it smart. But I just don't know how you're going to afford to pay all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Bijan Robinson, though, I don't know what other young running back is going to command that kind of money anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, the price range that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, but we're also going to start seeing some running back. Ash Chenty's going to come out this year. Kind of getting a little bit, teams are willing to spend some first-round draft picks on running backs. Lions were laughed at, when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, right? No one, everyone thought, I was in the stadium, no one wanted Jahmyr Gibbs. Believe me, everyone thought we wasted our pick or positional value. You don't draft running backs that high. Well, where would we be without Jahmyr Gibbs? It'd be a totally different offense. Brad Holmes knew what he wanted. Jahmyr Gibbs is just a total weapon. Use him in the passing game, use him in the running game. Just the ultimate weapon. He's very versatile. And, that's what the NFL, they're going to look at. They're going to try to get those guys. Now, Bijan Robinson is probably not as versatile as Gibbs, which is ironic because, everyone had Bijan way ahead of Gibbs going into that draft. Personally, Bijan's a good player, but I'd much rather have Gibbs.
Right. I mean, it was also the hype around Bijan.
Yeah, for sure. So these contracts keep happening. They keep raising the bar. Everyone gets more expensive. You wonder how that's going to how are you going to afford to put together a team? Yeah, it'll happen. Lions have been very smart with their contracts. They're not getting into trouble. They might have to restructure some of these deals, but that's just the name of the game. Everyone plays that game.
Right. I mean, that's what you got to do.
Yeah. Joey Bosa's still out there for edge because, get him. You said Trey Hendrickson's out for a trade. I don't see the Lions doing any trades, especially when you see the deal that Myles Garrett got. There's just no way you're going to be able to afford 2 of those guys. And Trey's probably not going to, you might be able to afford him this year, but are you going to give up a lot of draft capital without extending Trey Hendrickson? No, probably not.
Right. There's going to have to, whoever trades for him is going to need some sort of contract worked out as soon as possible. Joey Bosa, Von Miller, Draymond Jones, Matthew Judon, DeMarcus Lawrence, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith. Those are the top edge guys that are left right now. Chase Young is also on this list, but since we started the podcast, Chase Young actually re-signed with the Saints.
Okay.
For a lot of money. Let me see. Hang on one second. I have it up here somewhere. Vikings also just re-signed their cornerback Byron Murphy.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the NFC North people here in a minute. Chase Young, 3 years, $51 million. Max value, $57 million.
Yeah.
And that's, for Chase Young.
Yeah, I know that some people wanted Chase Young on this team, but not me.
Nope.
He wouldn't fit in here. Dan Campbell wouldn't have that. No, and Kelvin Shepard certainly wouldn't. About you got to have max effort all the time.
Yeah, you can't take plays off.
You can't, and because the Lions' defense and the offense are, you need to be in your spot. They trust the guy next to you that will play his heart out, and you get one or two of those guys that don't do that derails your team like quickly. So I didn't surprise me that they weren't in on Chase Young when he was up for trade a couple of years ago. I was not a Chase Young guy then.
Yeah, no, I did not.
Montez Sweat would have been interesting. I could have taken him for a second round pick, but yeah, Chase Young, they were teammates. No, not on that at all.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we go to the NFC North moves, just a couple of other notable or big things happening around the league. Josh Sweat, the other edge defender, 4 years, $76 million for the Cardinals. You got Darius Slay. A lot of people wanted to entertain the idea of bringing him back, but he's expected to sign with the Steelers. It's kind of a weird situation there, too. They announced he signed with the Steelers, and they kind of pumped the brakes and said maybe he's going to go back with the Eagles. It's a weird time. Sounds like his contract's worked out with the Steelers, but technically he's still under contract with the Eagles until, it starts. So,
yeah,
I don't know exactly. But DK Metcalf, Seahawks blew up their team. DK Metcalf was traded to the Steelers. Some more Seahawks news coming up later. Justin Fields for the Jets, 2 years, $40 million. So Aaron Glenn looks like he's going to be rolling with Justin Fields as a starting quarterback.
Laremy Tunsil. He didn't want to have to defend against him. Aaron Glenn always struggled. Yeah. He's like, I'll just get him on my team and I don't have to worry about it.
Well, he's seen this guy up close.
Yep.
Laremy Tunsil traded from the Texans to the Commanders. Commanders making some moves. They know the time is now. Quarterback on a rookie contract. They need to make it last. Cooper Kupp, if no trade partner today, I believe is what they said, then he was going to be released. Rams definitely ready to move on. They signed Devontae Adams. They're ready to let Cooper Kupp go. So Cooper Kupp's going to be out there. He's going to be available.
I know. I'd like Cooper Kupp would fit on our team. I like Cooper, but I just don't think the money's going to line up with him, or he's not going to be first or second option. He'd be third option on this team, and so I just don't see that lining up. But the guys you mentioned, Cooper Kupp, I talked when I said Tunsil got traded to the Commanders. I was like, man, they doing C.J. Stroud dirty. That guy was just getting beat up last year, and they just traded away his best offensive lineman. And I don't know what they're doing down there.
I saw from what the Texans, I forget who it was, one of the beat people for the Texans, one of the beat writers, basically they're worried about how much they're going to have to pay C.J. Stroud. And Tunsil's contract, I guess, was going to be an issue, so they shipped him off. Well, you better, what are you going to do?
Doesn't matter what you pay C.J. Stroud if he's on the ground all the time.
That's why you didn't win last year.
Yeah. I mean, did you say something about him having the yips, or where did I see that? That's real. Like, he was getting blitz all the time. He's seeing ghosts coming at him. He's getting rid of the ball, faster than he needs to. That just kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Right. But, that's just more. Commanders seem to be doing things the right way. They're trying to load up right now, win now.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean,
there's another team. Sorry, go ahead.
I reach out to the Commanders guys and say, congratulations. Debo, I mean, they've really been, Commanders are just going all in. They got that quarterback on a rookie contract, saving all that money, just like the Bears. We're going to talk about them in a minute.
That's what I was just going to say. The other team has been doing a good job of that. As painful as it is to say, let's get into it right now. I mean, we're going to go over the NFC North moves, and the most active team is going to be the Bears, Ben Johnson's Bears. And they're, like we talked about, like what the Lions are about, they're building in the trenches, right? That's what we wanted to do. That's what the makeup of our team starts inside out. The Bears, they traded with the Rams for Jonah Jackson, which, is funny. It was funny at the time because of the contract value and everything like that to me. But if Jonah plays like he did when he was here before, I mean, then that's an upgrade for them. They also traded with the Chiefs for their best offensive lineman, guard Joe Tooney, who's maybe his best years are behind him, but he still played really well last year. He was still towards the top. Then they ended up signing center Drew Dahlman today. 3 years, $42 million for him. NFL ranked him, this is something you put up. I don't know exactly what list this was, but he was ranked the 12th best available free agent. Center Drew Dahlman. I believe he's from the Falcons, right?
Yes.
And then you've got Colts edge defender. I believe it's the Colts edge defender. Deo, let's see how you say this name. Ode Yingbo.
Well, that's pretty good. Glad you got to say that.
Yeah, right. Had I seen that name earlier, I wrote that on there and I didn't think about how to say it when I wrote it down. 3 years, $48 million for him for an edge defender. He was ranked the 36th best free agent. This was definitely more money than was projected going to be given to this guy. So, I mean, I'm sure he willingly went to the Bears, willing to pay him that much money. Defensive tackle, Grady Jarrett. That was a big signing. 3 years, $43.5 million. The Bears are getting better. And like we talked about with the Commanders, they've got a rookie quarterback. Well, not a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. It's actually better for them because he's already got his feet wet. He already played last year, and now he's going to have a line around him, presumably, that's going to be able to buy him some time. And he's got a heck of a coach now with a great offensive mind. Son of a B. Let's hope that they tank.
Yeah, well, the Bears win every offseason, right? So we'll see how they go. But I was struck
I saw that, or I heard you say it before. I didn't think their offseason last year was. I mean, were you scared of the Bears last year?
No, but they trade for Keenan Allen. They make some big moves. They they're drafting Caleb Williams. They draft Roma Odunze. It wasn't like they went out and signed a bunch of guys, but it's one of those things. They were the number one pick. They went out and did those things. And I know people were picking them to make the playoffs and move on. The Bears did what the Bears do. However, Ben Johnson obviously went into Ryan Pohl's office and said, "We are building our lines. This is what we need to do." And they're paying a lot of money for that. So we'll see how it goes for them. Still, the Lions are better, better offensive line for sure. They have a lot of money on the defensive line, but we still have the best defensive line, best defensive line player in the division with Aiden. So take it.
If you're a Bears fan, you're stoked right now, though.
You're what?
I said, if you're a Bears fan, you're stoked right now. Like you're really,
Yeah. I mean, you got the coach. You think you got the coach. And now you're spending all your money. We'll see how it works out for them. I still hope they end up in fourth in the division.
Yeah, right.
Tied for fourth with the Vikings. We just walk away as the division. Everybody else tied for fourth, but we'll see how it works out for them. Packers didn't really do too much, and they hardly ever do anything in free agency. We'll see. Was Diggs going to end up there? I was just happy that Devontae Adams went to the Rams. I was afraid he was going to come back to the Packers, and I'm glad we avoided that.
Yeah, I didn't want that either.
So Packers gave Aaron Banks, guard, 4 years, $77 million. He's the 97th best free agent out there. I'm not too worried about that. Nate Hobbs did sign with them, quarterback, 4 years, $48 million. Got best free agent on NFL's list. Jair Alexander might be on his way out in Green Bay.
I have heard that too. Talking about trades, figuring out what they can do.
Yeah.
Good.
Get him out of their division. Yes, exactly. As long as he doesn't sign with another NFC North team. But I don't know. What did any of those deals? Did any of the deals in the division like
you mean between just the Bears and the Bears and Packers? Honestly, the Packers, they lost TJ Slayton to the Bengals, but the move that they made, how much money they gave Aaron Banks is kind of crazy to me.
Yes.
And Nate Hobbs, I mean, if that's your answer to replace Jair Alexander, I don't know that that's a very good one. No. And for how much you're paying him, that's on the surface, it's kind of puzzling. Mm-hmm. Obviously, time will tell if this is going to work out, but these were not, they were not premium signings. They're not people that you would see that being sought after. I don't know how many teams are fighting or driving up the bids on Aaron Banks. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that move so quickly. What'd the Vikings do?
Vikings actually signed center Ryan Kelly from the Colts, longtime Colts. 2 years, $18 million. Pretty good deal for them. He was ranked 70th best free agent, according to NFL. They also got an edge defender, Patrick Jones, 2 years, $20 million. Cornerback, Isaiah Rodgers, 2 years, $15 million. The bigger story for the Vikings, well, previously to when we start recording this, because now I don't have that on here, but they did re-sign Byron Murphy. 3 years, $66 million. So that's huge. They definitely wanted to get him back. So they re-signed Byron Murphy. They re-signed running back Aaron Jones, 2 years, $20 million. 2 years, $20 million. Aaron Jones actually had a pretty good year for them last year.
Yeah, I'm not too crazy about that deal, to be honest with you. He's just seems like he's injured quite a bit, and he did slow down towards the end. He started out really good, and then he kind of slowed down towards the end of the year.
I mean, he always does, but I think I want to say that was the most carries, most snaps he played his whole career, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what that means? He went all out. He gave it everything he had. He's going to be injured by week 3 this year.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Especially if they don't get anybody behind him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the bigger news up until the Byron Murphy thing, they lose safety Cam Bynum to the Colts, 4 years, $60 million. And I say lose, but I don't know what the discussion went like if they decide to let him walk. As this next player, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold leaves Minnesota for Seattle, 3 years, $100 million. Seahawks ditched Geno Smith. They trade him off with Pete Carroll and the Raiders. They lose Tyler Lockett. They trade DK Metcalf. They're like, who is going to come save our team? Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold, there's no way he's going to match what he did last year with who the Seahawks have left over there.
It says Matt Flynn written all over it.
Yeah. Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? And then who else? Because they got rid of DK Tyler Lockett. And, you're going to go from Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson to that. I don't get it. I
Top
think
receivers in Seattle outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't know how you say his name. Derrick Young and Jake Bobo. Tight end Noah Fant, AJ Barner, but talking about receiver, I just if you're a Seahawks fan, you're going, what the heck happened?
No,
it's already only a couple days into free agency, and you're already looking towards next year.
Yeah. Yeah, we should reach out. I don't want to reach out to Brandon, who that we interviewed in our podcast last year, because he's probably going crazy.
DK and Geno gone. Yeah. It's shocking to me that was the answer, too. Geno Smith, they were going through contract negotiations or whatever they had. They weren't settling on the numbers. They're like, well, we're going to ship you off. I want to say it was for a 3rd rounder, right? Ship Geno off for a 3rd rounder, and then Sam Darnold, we're going to come pay him $100 million to be our quarterback.
What a turnaround for Sam, though. I mean, he was going to be a cast-off, goes to Minnesota, perfect situation for him, and then he's going to get paid, and you're right. I'd be surprised if he's a starter by year 3 of that contract, even year 2. They're going to be looking at drafting a quarterback and getting that replacement. But
hey, you know what? We called this. We talked about this before the season started when J.J. McCarthy went down. We spoke this into existence. You asked how many yards Sam Darnold was going to have. And I said, I'm thinking probably around 4,100. And you were shocked. You said 4,100. And you said if Sam Darnold throws for 4,100 yards, he's going to be signing a major contract somewhere next year.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
4,300 yards, 14-3 record. And now that's enough for some team to think that you are going to save them in the mess that they've made.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm just glad I don't root for Seattle. I got a buddy, Josh, that is a big Seattle fan. I was on his podcast last year. I wonder.
Ask him how he's doing.
Oh man,
you check on him.
Know. He might be drinking his sorrows away. So I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy. DK Metcalf, we mentioned him. We're just talking about him. Signed a monster extension with Steelers. He's getting $30 million a year. That's a lot of money.
I did not see those numbers. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's $150 million over 5, right? Is what I'm remembering from what I saw. So yeah, $30 million. It's wow. These contracts are just crazy. JMO's number just keeps going up. I just don't see, if he has a really good year this year, I just don't see how the Lions, we're going to have him for 2 years and then he's going to be signing somewhere else.
You can't afford him. That's the reality that we're coming to, is that we can't afford everybody. Chris Godwin, 3 years, $66 million, but then I don't see the DK contract, but Devontae, 2 years, $46 million.
I think Schefter put it, if you go to Twitter and go under Schefter, but you probably have to cycle through down because there's probably 30 other announcements since then. But yeah. These deals are just surprising, but we'll see. I mean, we haven't even hit, Wednesdays when they officially can sign all these free agents. I think in the NFL's top 10 list, there's only like 6 of the top 25 free agents left that's out there. And I think the top is Amari Cooper, from Browns, Bills, and he's still out there. So, who knows? They could go back to the Bills. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still waiting for Tim Patrick to resign with us. We haven't seen that come across yet. So apparently Tim Patrick's gonna go out there.
Test the market.
Also, I don't know if you saw this, but Josh Reynolds was cut down. Jacksonville cut Josh Reynolds, so Josh Reynolds is back on the market too. So I could definitely see the Lions going down that road again. Just signing him as a depth piece. Knows the offense obviously, can just step right in. We don't need him to be number 1, number 2, number 3. He's really like 3rd and 4th, but him and Khalif. So that if the money lines up, I know Brad Holmes really wanted him last year, so it wouldn't surprise me to them to kick the tires on Josh Reynolds again.
I'd be okay with that. The price is right.
Yep, exactly. Come on down. The price is right. Do you know what that's from? Okay, just want to make sure.
Who's Bob Barker?
Yeah, exactly. Drew Carey, right? So that he's the host now, right? Is that your Price is Right? No way. You watched Bob Barker when you were a kid. I know you did.
I have never watched The Price is Right. I've seen
The
Price is Right, but I've never, The Price is Right, one of those things where you're sick home from school and The Price is Right is on.
Yes, exactly. And you see all the old people
or
commercials.
the Maury show. I watched Maury.
You are the father.
Yeah, right.
Did you find out Did you find out who your dad was on the Maury?
You're funny,
man. So you're wearing a Tigers hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing a Tigers hat. I just randomly picked it. We always wear Lions hats. We didn't talk about this ahead of time, and I was like, I'm going to wear a Tigers hat. He's going to say something, and then I get on, and you're wearing a Tigers hat. So
I didn't think about it until I got on. I was like, I don't even match. I'm not wearing my Lion. I got a brown shirt on. I got my just what I was wearing around the house.
I got my
old school.
I got my old school. I found this, man. An homage shirt, got the old school logo. It's huge. It's oversized. I love this shirt. I found it at, where'd I go? Rally House, I think. Rally House had it.
That was the logo when Jason was a kid.
What?
So that was the logo when you were a kid.
No, that was when my dad was a kid, man. This is like the 50s logo, but
Jason helped design that logo.
Yeah, I was drawing in my kindergarten class. I like this logo, so I'd love to see it make a comeback. Kind of did last year. They ran during the 90th. It was sad to see that helmet go after 1 year, but I do love the new helmet, so I'm not going to argue too much about that. We got another week of signings, so we'll be glued to Twitter again tomorrow, Wednesday, and we'll see what happens. So hopefully something big happens. If something huge happens, maybe we'll come on and do another live stream. But, this might hold us over till next Monday. We had a couple comments. I don't know if you saw them. People are really excited about Dan Skipper coming back.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, great. So anything else before we take off here, Jacob?
No, man. Just sign Hutch, sign Levi.
Get that, man. Hutch is they're gonna have to pull up 2 Brinks trucks for Hutch.
Yeah, right.
This is like crazy. Ramsey said, pull the Brinks truck up. Yeah, Hutch is gonna say. Luckily, it won't have to travel too far from Hutch's house is not too far away from the stadium, so we won't have to go not too far. But all right, man, we'll see you next week. We're doing this live thing. Like and subscribe. You get the notification. You can let us know when we go live. Usually it's around 9:00 on Mondays. During the season, we'll do 2, and we'll see how that goes. We always record on Mondays, and then we add in a Wednesday one during the season to preview the next opponent. But during the offseason, we're usually at 1. But a couple times some big deal happens or something that we want to talk about more, we'll jump on again. So hit like and subscribe, hit the notification. Follow us on Spotify. We're going to always remain an audio podcast. So just hit follow and you'll know when the episodes come out. Usually I get them up. I stay up late. Jacob goes to bed and I have to stay up late editing this thing. He's sleeping in bed and I'm toiling away at the computer. So, all right, Jacob, been a great as usual. Hopefully you're back at work tomorrow. I'm there, so we'll hang out. We're going to the Pistons game tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. This will be the first
Pistons
game.
Wizards.
Yeah. We're not sitting together, but we'll be in the stadium. You'll be a lot closer than I am, but it'll be fun. So that's cool. I'm looking forward to that.
For
All
sure.
Right. Yep. All right. For Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's go Lions.